I want to try to sum up what we find the impact players do differently. They are skilled, adept, active, and courageous in how they deal with uncertainty. And the first thing is this difference between how they see it. Now, we have talked about this in these sessions before. We've talked about that they look at uncertainty with a different lens, that they're looking at it through an opportunity lens. Now, these are some little goggles we had made. And, well, most of us kind of tend to look at this through this uncertainty lens. And, the neurologist would tell us it's our natural lens. It's our first lens. It's where like the brain
These are
stem.
flames if you can't see them. It's like we are seeing the world through real threat.
Yeah, and it's like, the our brain stem and that midbrain and the limbic brain. Like this is the part that's saying, whoa, danger, this is a problem. You don't know how to do this. This isn't safe ground. You aren't safe here. Someone might mean you harm. What we find is that while the impact players experience that, they stay with the problem long enough, get comfortable enough with it, that they're able to let that problem go up to the cortex of their brain, the part that does the reasoning and thinking, and it allows them to look at that with opportunity goggles. And you're so proud of those, aren't you? So that's one of the things that we see. And then in terms of taking action, I think I can best sum it up with this idea that instead of waiting for that to subside, they tend to advance. They go through it rather than around it. And it reminds me of one of my favorite, I have to say, my favorite poet, Robert Frost's a line from a poem he actually wrote back in 1915. So over 100 years ago. Let me get it right, just to honor his words. This line in this poem, it's from A Servant to Servants. He says the best way out is always through. And I agree to that, or insofar as that I can see no way out but through. And it's this reminder that, we have this tendency to want to run around these problems. The best way is through. And that reminds me of a story I heard told by a former NFL wide receiver named Eric Bowles, who talked about running around the wedge. And so he was a wide receiver, and his job was to catch the big passes and, run them in for touchdowns. And his mentality is like, don't get tackled, don't get hit, don't get hurt. Your job is to catch and run. Well, that was his normal position, but on special teams, he played the flyer because you had to be fast to be the flyer. And so when his team was kicking off to the opposing team and the receiver catches, it says when those big long balls come, I'm always so nervous for that receiver who catches it and has to run. His job was to tackle that receiver. And the other team has got in front of that receiver a formation called the wedge. And the wedge is a bunch of big, burly linemen who are running as a human wall in front of that receiver to protect the receiver against tackle. Now, his job is to break the wedge. It's to go in and break up that wedge so he or one of his teammates can get to the receiver. Well, he's running, flying down the field, and he sees the wedge, and he's like, yeah, no. And these are big guys. And so he just decides he's fast. He's just going to do an end run around that wedge and get to the receiver that way. And he gets the receiver and he tackles the receiver on the 45-yard line. But after the game, the team is reviewing their loss because he tackled that receiver on the 45-yard line rather than the 20-yard line where he should have been able to get to that receiver if he'd gone through and broken up that wedge. The team lost. They lost their chance for playoffs. And he just recounted this feeling of he thought he could just go around it, discreetly. And of course, everyone on the team saw it. The coach saw it. It cost them this win because he went around rather than through. And I think that's what we've learned is that the impact players don't go around uncertainty. They realize there is no way around. The best way is through.